Hey everybody, how's everybody doing tonight? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you all being on time. We have a call tonight starting at 9:30, so I want to make sure that we have enough time to get everyone's questions answered and make sure that we have a good solid presentation. I know that everybody has been waiting for this call, so I appreciate your patience and understanding as we have had to go through a couple of things over the last couple of months, and just trying to balance everything has been difficult. So I appreciate everybody's patience. We've been promising this call for a while. So I really hope that you guys get a lot of value, and we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chelsea Atkins. I am in Gigi's downline. My husband and I have been trading with her for probably a total of 4 years between the two of us. And we have come from the banking industry. So we both met in the banking industry. That's where we met, fell in love, decided that we were going to get married, that beautiful, cute little love story. But the reason that we started doing the business consulting and tax consulting piece of this was we had a lot of business clients who would come into our branches and didn't have the appropriate documents, didn't understand what they needed to be able to open a business account, all of those things. So if you think like an entrepreneur, what's the best way to be able to, one, assist your clients to make sure that they're taken care of tax-wise, legality-wise, all of those things. If they're going to come to me to open their business account, why would I not assist them in starting from step one? So we did a lot of research as far as understanding how LLCs and corporations and all of those different things work. Lorenzo is tax certified, and this has kind of been our side gig for close to 10 years. So we're excited to be here with you guys tonight. With Lorenzo starting trading, he started doing a lot of research as far as Forex tax laws, all of those different things, and how all of these things kind of wrap into a nice little bow. So we'll be going over those things tonight. Lorenzo will talk after me, but this is something that we've been doing for a while. So we'll do our best to do a Q&A at the end. It just depends on time constraints and all of that. And hopefully if we miss any questions, or if there's something that you guys don't get to ask, there is information as far as how to contact us, everything at the end of the presentation, as well as in the announcement that was dropped today. So we'll go ahead and get started. So, essentially as an entrepreneur, as someone who wants to be able to make money, to move from a W-2 income to a 1099 income, the goal is to keep as much money as possible, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense if you are making 6 figures if you're paying half of it back in taxes. Uncle Sam's gonna get his piece. The IRS, or as Gigi calls it, Aunt Iris, she's gonna get her piece. Like, they are going to undoubtedly do that, especially for those of you who live in the United States. They are going to tax you on these things. Now, the difference of how you're taxed and all of that depends on what type of investing you do. If you trade Forex, it's different than if you are investing in stocks and different things like that. There's different types of tax breaks that you can receive. They're also changing a lot of the laws with cryptocurrency. Crypto is becoming a huge thing in our society. So they're changing a lot of the laws that come along with that as well, as far as what you can deduct on your taxes, all of those things. There's a lot of different opportunities here for people to be able to make money. So if you're someone who is just trading, you don't care about the residual income, anything like that. If you've never claimed your losses on your taxes and you've taken a significant amount of losses, you're losing. If you're not claiming your monthly fees that you pay as a deduction, like, that's a deduction that you all can take. Many of you aren't aware of that. So just from a trading standpoint, just from being in B or IM Academy or any of those things, if you do private mentorship with anyone, if you do anyone's private boot camp, so like sometimes Gigi will hold boot camps, Terrell hosts boot camps, different things like that. If you're paying those fees, those are deductions as well. So there's a lot of different things that we'll go over tonight. Also, for those of you who are earning residual, there's a lot of tax breaks that you can take advantage of as well. Doesn't really make sense if you make $500 a month from B if you're basically paying half of it back in your fees and taxes. It's not really beneficial to you, right? The other major thing that we all have been talking about for months is FTMO. And maybe it's not even FTMO if you're involved in any type of prop firm whatsoever. This call is for you if you are involved in any of those things and you want to be able to keep more rather than pay it all back. So I kind of explained a little bit, what we're going to go over tonight, when you should establish a business entity, what an LLC is, different tax preparation tips, different things like that. So what is the startup group? I kind of explained it. The startup group is a business that was initially started by Lorenzo and his brother. They both were in the banking industry and found that they were having a lot of clients who didn't know where to start when they were starting a business. So they assisted in getting, their business entity applied for and taken care of through their Secretary of State. They applied for a tax ID number for them. They helped them establish an operating agreement, help them, answer and look for some of the different questions as far as getting social media and websites and, payroll and, all of those different things. So no matter what type of entrepreneur you are, it doesn't even matter if you're a trader, they can assist as far as that goes. Now, over the years, I have left my banking job and I've started helping with the startup group. So I'm kind of in the background. I help do a lot of the, computer work, communication, different things like that, especially over the last year, as Lorenzo's health has been declining, I have started picking up a lot more of the pieces. And so a lot of you that have reached out, you're communicating through me most of the time, just because I've kind of taken this on as my baby. Lorenzo has really been a mentor to me to be able to, make sure that this runs smoothly. This has been our baby for over a decade. So to be able to keep it going and up and running and all of that, and still be able to assist people is really important to us. So the biggest question that a lot of people have is, when should I get an LLC? When should I decide that I should stop trading under my own name or under my own social security number and actually turn it over into a business? That's really a different answer for everybody. There are tax breaks that are involved. There are more deductions that you can take when you have a business entity. There's not really a specific dollar amount in mind. The day that I signed up for I Am Academy, and I know I Am Academy, boo, whatever. The day that I signed up for I Am Academy, I established an LLC. I had no intention of making residual income. I had no intention of having a business out of it. But the reason that I did that was because I wanted to make sure that when I started being profitable, everything would run through my business. All of my expenses would run through my business. It would be good for tax purposes so that I can go back and see exactly. So my trading view, my Canva subscription, my IM fees, any boot camps that I did, anything like that. I listed all of that. It all came out of my business account. That way, when it was time for Lorenzo to do our taxes, all I had to do was go through that checklist and I knew exactly what income came in and exactly what expenses went out. It made it easy. Now, if you're operating it as yourself, it's a little bit harder. You're using your personal debit card all the time. So to go back, and unless you're really someone who really meticulously keeps track of those details, it's not really beneficial to you. So what is an LLC? In most cases, if you are trading, an LLC is going to be sufficient. Now, some people will go down and say, well, maybe I should do a corporation. Honestly, unless you become like a really, really, really big and established, an LLC is going to be sufficient for you. A corporation is going to involve having a lot more checks and balances and all of those things. So we personally recommend an LLC if you're using it for trading purposes. Now, if you have another business that's on the side, that you want further consulting, you want to do a free consultation, and you want to discuss maybe a corporation would be better for your situation, then obviously that's something that we can go down. But for those of you that are either trading or you're getting a residual income, an LLC will be sufficient for you in most cases, probably 99% of the time. An LLC can be owned by you or it can be owned by multiple people. So Lorenzo and I have the startup group. We are partners in that. We also have Atkins Financial Group, which is our trading, all of those things. We are both partners in that. There's not a lot of like legalities involved with an LLC. It's typically one of the cheaper routes to go through your Secretary of State to be able to apply for. Some of the states will make you renew every year. Some of them will let you have it for a lifetime. Others will make you do every 5 years. It really just depends on what state you live in. And the fees are different. So here in Ohio, it's $99 until it's not. Like it's $99 until we decide to not establish the entity. We don't have to renew every year, all of that. Tennessee is $300 a year. So depending on where you live, if that helps you understand, there's different fees for every state. It really just depends on the state and all of those things. You can apply for a tax ID number at any time, and that's free. So realistically, the biggest upfront out-of-pocket cost is what you're paying to establish your LLC and to be able to decide if it's going to be a single member, if you want multiple members. Now, the reason that some people will have multiple members, business accounts you can't put beneficiaries on like you can on a personal account. So I, Chelsea Atkins, if I pass away, all my money goes to Lorenzo. That's in my personal account. If I go and open a business account and Lorenzo is not on my business, Atkins Financial Group, I pass away, it's going to go through whatever funds are in there is going to go through probate unless I have documents supporting who it's going to go to. That's where an operating agreement comes in. So there are different things. It's not as easy as just going to your Secretary of State, filling in the information. There are other things that you have to make sure are taken care of. Who's going to be involved when it comes back to if something should happen to you. But the last year, I've lost people that I never thought I was going to lose. We weren't prepared to lose some of those people. And I know that there are other people on this call who are in that same situation. You don't want to be put in the situation where you've established greatness to pass along and give a legacy to your family and not have them set up and prepared the proper way, right? So an LLC, you don't have a limit on how many members can be involved. You don't have a limit as far as, you know, all of those different things. The taxes are going to be different based on whether it's a single member or there's multiple members and all of those different things. There's not stock or stock options. It's not publicly traded or anything like that. You know, so if you think that you're going to go into a business where it's going to become a bigger thing, you can always relook at that in the future as well. Okay, so I know that I just went over a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute for right now. Actually, you know what? Let's go over the tax part. Everybody write down your questions. So if you have any questions about anything that we've gone over, write them down right now, and then I'll open it up for Q&A at the end. I was going to open it up now, but I don't want to get down a rabbit hole and then not go over the tax things. So I'm going to pass it over to Lorenzo. He's going to go over more in detail as far as what the tax breaks, what all of those things, what the importance of understanding how Forex and crypto tax works. And he'll go over all of that. So this is really, really relevant as far as, you know, what this presentation is about. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. That is important in every piece of this, important of every aspect of trading, important in every aspect of building a business, important of every aspect of life in general. So I'm going to turn it over to Lorenzo, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully everybody is doing well and is staying safe. I'm happy to be here today. God has blessed me to have another day. So I appreciate you guys coming in, and hopefully we can answer some questions and give you guys some good information that you guys can use going forward. Taxes for Forex is taxed differently from any other, like it's taxed differently from stocks. It's not capital gains. Forex has its own little bucket of taxes. And the good thing about it is that you can tie this in as a business entity. Even if you don't have an LLC, you can run it through as yourself as a sole proprietor. You can run your losses, your gains, all those things you can run through your tax filing if you structure it the right way. We advise you to set up an LLC, because that kind of, when you have an actual established business, that'll kind of deter them from auditing you. If I have Lorenzo Atkins under my social and I'm writing all my stuff off under that, that's going to give a flag to the IRS to say, hey, what really is this? Or is this really a legitimate business? He's just saying his name and his social security number. So to establish that, it kind of works hand in hand. So if you do your taxes yourself, or you have somebody else who's doing, or you pay somebody doing, some of the things that with a Forex trader that with that preparation is a mistake is, number one, a lot of people don't claim their losses. My first year of trading, I easily lost, don't tell my wife, $7,000 to $8,000. I'm sitting here. So I easily lost about $7 grand my first year of trading. So back in 2016, 2017, I was gambling and not trading. I was over leveraging. I really didn't have it really wasn't a system like it is now to be successful. And I fell into the trap, and I really, 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 really took some losses. Well, being able to put that on my taxes, I was able to recoup some of those losses once my tax return. So number one, if you are trading, you should have a tax plan. Your tax preparer or yourself should already have a system that is down, that is dedicated for this. If you do online services, so if it's TurboTax, Tax Act, a lot of those will not have the right stuff in there for Forex. So you have to be careful on what you're doing to make sure that you can implement those in there. And then the second thing is, you want to be careful if you're not paying self-employment tax on that too. So it's a lot of things that work together when you're doing your taxes, that you want to make sure every dollar, every red cent that the IRS can give you, that you get. We all pay a lot of money in taxes and fees and everything else. So any money that you are entitled to, you want to make sure that you are receiving every dollar. Make sure, so Chelsea kind of touched on it, some of the things that you can do on your taxes when it comes to what you can file, so you can share your losses, your monthly fees, your like if you travel, if you're doing any travel, all that is tax deductible, flights, entertainment, food, like all those things can be written off once you establish. Now, something she did talk about briefly that I want to clear up is, some people say, Should I keep an LLC or should I do like an S corp? The biggest difference for me, when you talk about I want to do an S corp and then I want to pay myself out of the S corp, the biggest thing is you need to be clearing, like not after write-offs, but you need to, because what you're going to be doing is putting yourself on payroll. So you already are setting up taxes that you are paying. When you set that payroll up, you're already going to be paying taxes on it with the S corp. So you have to be making enough money for that to make sense. So example, let's say I made $100,000 this year trading. Out of that $100,000, I wrote my food, I wrote some investments I did, I wrote off travel that we've done, I wrote off all these things. And after that, my net, after I did all my deductions, was $30,000. You do not want that to be on the S corp where you've been paying taxes on, because it's not going to wash. Now, if I made $500,000 and after my deductions, I'm at like 200, then we can start talking about setting it up as an S corp. But you want to make sure because a lot of times, like I can find enough deductions that I don't really pay on the money that I make off of my Forex accounts. So I can come up with enough because I can use it for investments. Like if I want to buy property, if I want to buy all those things, I can take out of my earnings and out of my income and use those as deductions as long as I'm running it through my LLC. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick. I know we are hurting for time, so I guess I'm going to just open it up for any questions that anybody might have that me and Chelsea can answer.
Hello, good evening. I have a quick question. Is there going to be like another training that be a little bit more in depth? Because I'm able to follow along, but I'm not really tracking.
So realistically, every individual is different. So we really have to do it from a broad standpoint as far as doing an in-depth. That's going to be more of like a private consultation because every individual is different. Everyone's goals are different. Everyone's income is different. Everyone's intentions with the funds that they're earning are different. So to do it more in depth is not really the best. We've been doing these presentations for like 2 years now. Usually about every 6 months, we will do one. So this is just kind of a broad overview. Now we will give our contact information at the end. So if it's something that you have more specific questions related to yourself or how it will work for you, you know, we can always set up a consultation as far as what that entails. We don't charge for like an initial consultation. So if you have questions as far as, you know, what your next steps are or things like that, that's definitely something that we can talk about more. You can also send an email. So if that's easier for you, I know some people work and have kids and all of that. So sometimes it's hard to set aside time during the day to have a private call, but you know, we can always do that as well and do like a private consultation for anybody.
Okay, cool beans. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have a couple of questions in the waiting room. I'll go over to the contact information. So there's the contact information for everybody. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, or there's email. You guys can also, it's easier if you just email or use the Facebook group just so that I can keep everything separate. But if you really want to, you guys can DM me on Telegram or in the team chats as well. So that's an option as well. It's easiest if you go through the email address. Okay, so we have a couple questions. Can I do my LLC as a sole member now and claim past expenses for the year, such as the trading view, internet, etc.? So if he doesn't have an LLC now and he applies for one right now, can he claim his past expenses for the year?
Yes. What you would do if you're gonna go back is you have to amend your taxes. And then you would do those as yourself, as a sole prop, as you as an individual under your social security number, and then your taxes coming up, you will do it with the LLC. But with you doing it all together, you shouldn't get as many red flags from the IRS because it's kind of streamlined. So you'll just go back and you'll claim them as a sole prop, and then you going forward, you will use your LLC.
Okay, this is Richard. I was the one to ask that question. So can I get with you guys later on in the year to kind of get that situated? I know how to go back to find all my as far as my receipts and stuff like that. But can I get with y'all later on in the year to kind of get that guy to compile to make sure I'm going in the right direction?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
I was just curious. I noticed some people, they set up their LLCs like using their names. Would you recommend that you use something different besides your name when you're actually setting it up?
I mean, that's really personal preference. Some people don't like to have their name in their LLC because if there's a legal issue in the future, then their name is plastered all over with the LLC as well. I mean, I have my last name in my LLC. Mine's Atkins Financial Group. So, I mean, it really just depends on your personal preference. But yes, you can have your name in your LLC as long as it's available through your Secretary of State.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, kind of a follow-up to Richard's question about if you don't currently have an LLC and you want to establish one, like say now. So next year, and when filing taxes for 2021, could you file all the expenses under the LLC, or you still need to do some of them as a sole prop and then the others as a LLC from the time that you actually establish the LLC?
So you can take any of the expenses that are related to that business for the entire year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question,
Mhm.
Chelsea. Okay, going back to establishing the LLC, I know it may be different from state to state, but
Mhm.
what category would you suggest that we open the LLC under, financial or consulting?
I personally, we utilize financial.
Okay.
Because you're not necessarily doing consulting.
Right.
It's more of like a financial, you can do the financial services and then choose other, and you can
Right.
put that you're a Forex trade. I mean, they just want it to be as concise as possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be, we go through financial services.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to be clear because someone said consulting, so I just wanted to get that straight. All right,
Yep.
thanks, hon.
You're very welcome.
Also, I would add, when you get your LLC, if you go through us or if you do it yourself or you get somebody else to do it, you want to make sure you have an operating agreement. Like, it is very, very, very important that you have an operating agreement. It's more than just going to the Secretary of State and getting registered with the state. You have to have an operating agreement, because for some people that are on this call that are going to be doing FTMO and all the other kinds of things, your money, because you probably are going to get a bank account that's established in the business name, and your money is going to be flowing through that bank account, right? That's how you're going to be doing it. If something happens to you, that money is tied up and the business is dead and gone. If you have an operating agreement, you can it lays out what those steps are if something were to happen to you, if you were to get sued, If you like all those what ifs that you never ever use is going to be in the operating agreement. So you want to be sure that you have an operating agreement, because the worst thing ever is for you to make this really, really successful and something happen to you and your family doesn't get the money, because even probate might not award it to your family. Because if it's a business like that, it could get tied up for a long time. So you want to make sure that those lines are drawn very, very, very clear.
Okay. Can I ask one more question? I already have a LLC under financial, but mine is for insurance, for medical and life insurance. So it wouldn't be a good idea to keep it under there for trading, correct? Just open up another LLC?
I would again, this is a personal choice, but
Right.
from a professional standpoint, I would not recommend putting two businesses under one name.
Gotcha.
Reason
Okay.
being, if someone comes back to you on your existing business. So Lorenzo and I also own a cleaning company.
Mm-hmm.
If we operated the cleaning company and our trading under one house and someone comes and sues our cleaning company, that puts all of our cleaning company assets at risk as well.
Exactly.
It also helps you separate your deductions and all of those things.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
easier if you're able to just house it under two separate entities.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I got on this call because I've been getting conflicting information. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay, so is it best to have a professional file Forex related taxes? It sounds like it can get complicated, or is it something that you're able to do yourself?
That's experience. So if you're experienced in it, that's one thing. Like you can do I tell people you can do anything on your own. You can. Like I can tell my wife I'm going to fix my roof. And I can YouTube it and they'll tell me exactly how to do it. Now, what the results of that might not be the same as if a professional does it. Now, with that being said, I would highly recommend when you're dealing with taxes with something like this to have somebody who's at least really knowledgeable in it doing it. Just because they'll be able to make sure you get all the deductions. And more importantly, if something goes wrong or you get audited or something like that, that you have somebody who can walk you through that, because that can be tricky. And I would recommend a professional, but if you're comfortable and you're confident and you know a little bit about Forex tax laws and stuff like that, then you might do it yourself.
Also, is B considered dealing with an international company, or how is that income that comes from B? Is that a different?
No, it still comes, because when you have a business, it doesn't matter if it's international or where the money comes from. You're just going to say that your company made that or spent that. So you're just, regardless if it's international or not, you're just going to be documenting what money was spent or what money was made. So if you're getting a residual income, that's income that the business is having, and that you have all your deductions off of it. If you're just doing a monthly subscription, then those are deductions that you need to do because that's money that your business is spending.
And I can kind of break that down in another way. So if you have an e-commerce business, a lot of people order from Alibaba, which is from overseas. They're getting all of their product from overseas, and then they're making money on it. It's not necessarily an international transaction from that standpoint either. Let's see. Can a person have more than one LLC, or if you have an existing one? So we kind of already touched on this one. So if you have an existing LLC and you're not utilizing it for another purpose of business, then yes, you could use it for your trading. If you have an existing LLC and you're already utilizing it for another business purpose, it's not in your best interest to utilize it for both, house them both under the same umbrella. Let's see. All right, so we got the email. When I went to open my business account last week, they require a copy of your operating agreement to open up a business account. Yeah, so a lot of banks right now, especially with anti-money laundering and the Bank Security Act, a lot of banks are requiring more documentation for businesses. Some of them, all you have to have is your articles of organization from your Secretary of State and your tax ID number or EIN, and then your driver's license. Others will require you to have your operating agreement or a business plan or something like that, depending on how large scale the bank is, or some of the smaller credit unions, just as a CYA, they want you to have as much documentation as possible. Anti-money laundering and bank security since 9/11 has been increasingly getting tighter and tighter and tighter. When I first started in banking, people didn't have to have any documentation whatsoever. They could just walk in and say, hey, I'm opening a business. It's Chelsea Atkins and whatever. And then we would open a business account. When I left banking, there was a checklist of 8 different items that we had to have before we could even open an account for someone. Do we do international clients? Or for us in the Caribbean, is it best to check with a professional in their area? I would suggest, just with it being international, just from a professional standpoint, yes, we would love to be able to help you, but it would be best probably for you to speak with someone who knows your specific tax laws. Again, kind of like Lorenzo compared, you know, he can Google it, he can do research, but if someone knows better in your area, if you can't find someone who understands, you know, Forex tax and stuff like that, we can definitely see what we can pull together and do our research and all of those things. But I would contact someone in your area first. If you're building with B and trading, do you need to have 2 LLCs? No, essentially, it's all the same income umbrella. So it's all related to the same thing. Now, if you want to, you can, but ideally, especially if you're doing FTMO, you're going to want the B deductions to go against that FTMO income. Do I need to get an EIN separately from filing? Yes. So you'll file for your LLC through your state. The EIN comes from the federal government. So it's going to come from the IRS. What path is easier for people who are employed when filing taxes, LLC, and my current job? Should I file both of them through you? So you would do one return. It would just have different schedules on it. So it would all be one preparer. You don't have to go through separate tax advisors or separate returns or anything like that. It's all going to be, yeah, unless you have a partnership. So if you have something that you're doing with a partner, then that return would be filed separately. But if it's just essentially your trading, it would all be, your W-2 income and your 1099 income would all be on the same return, just a different schedule.
And then when we say partner, it's somebody who's not going to be on your tax return. So like me and Chelsea can have the business and be partners, and they can flow through our tax return that way. Because we can pass through. But if, let's say, me and Gigi were going to have a business together, then we would have to have a whole separate tax return, a 1065. And then once we come down to the bottom line, then both of us will pass through, split those in half. So as long as it's not a partnership, you can do it.
And then is there a tax program that they can buy specifically that would gear towards their Forex trading deductions, or would it be better to hire a professional to do it?
I do a lot of longhand. I don't know of software that's out there. But most people aren't going to charge you that much. So by the time you buy software and stuff like that, that's specific to that, it might be, you might as well just have somebody do it sometimes. So it just depends on what you want to invest. I don't personally know of actual software that has Forex stuff on it.
Okay, so those are all the questions that we have in the chat. If anyone wants to unmute themselves, if you have any additional questions, or if you have any additional questions you'd like to type in the chat, we can answer. If not, I'll go ahead and wrap it up so that everybody can have some time before the next call at 9:30. Okay. Any percentage range on how much profits get taxed?
It just depends on how much you make. So there's a tax schedule. So how much you make, you get taxed a certain percentage. Your income from a business gets put in that percentage. So like when you have your regular W-2 income, let's say I make 100,000, that puts me at a certain tax bracket. Now, once I have business income and I put that on top of that, then that puts me at a different tax bracket. So it's all going to depend on what tax bracket you're in and how much money you're making. So essentially what you want to do is try to make your taxes as low as possible. So hopefully you have enough deductions that can eat into your income you're making with trading to kind of stabilize that a little bit. Because if you get over 100, I think it's 130,000, I mean, you get taxed pretty, it's a pretty chunky tax. So if we want to make sure we bring that down by deductions, and then you want to be very strategic on the things that you buy. So if you use your money for like property, or like if you reinvest your money and stuff like that, we can finagle and do some things with that to bring your taxable income down. So if you make $250,000 in the market, then we need to really, really be diligent on how we spend and what we do with the money and how we label things and do those things where if you buy a new car, how we can do that to make it part of the business to bring that income down. So the main thing is going to be what your bottom line income is going to determine what the percentage is.
Is there anything other than saving receipts that we should be doing now for our tax purposes?
So if you have an LLC, the best thing to do is have a business account and have your debit card, and every single thing you do, just start using your debit card, because it's going to itemize everything. So if you go get lunch, or if you like all those things, like you buy or you do it out of that account, and then you will already have it itemized. So you don't even have to like keep receipts per se. You can have it just in your statements on your bank account. If you don't, I would suggest, if you don't have an LLC and you're not going to get one, is to maybe open up another account just in your name that you can separate everything in. So the biggest thing, like if you ever get audited, is they're going to want to see what you put on your tax return, how it matches up to what you have. So if you have it nice and clean and they don't have to do work, they are going to be a lot more lenient on you. If they have to go through all your personal statements with everything that you've purchased and try to scrub through that, they're going to be really, really hard on you. So the biggest thing to do is try to have it separate. If you're going to be claiming losses and have it on a business, have it separate. Have an account that's separate, that all that comes out to.
And I'll add to, just when it comes to tax season, it makes it a lot easier on your tax preparer if you have like an Excel sheet or a Google sheet that lists like a profit and loss, right? So any income that your business or yourself has collected as an individual, minus any deductions. So deductions, we've talked about, it can be your B fees, it can be travel. So all of you who went to Arizona a couple weeks ago, that trip is tax deductible for you. It's business related. Lorenzo and I went to Vegas in February. We met up with 2 or 3 couples who also are on the trading team. Every meal that we had, all of the extravaganzas that we took a helicopter ride, you know, all of those different things, those are all deductions as well, because we're all discussing business related things during those things. If you go to lunch with someone to talk about trading, to talk about joining B, that's a business expense. If you run all of that through one account, you know, clothes for those trips, that's a business expense. You go get your nails done, you get a pedicure, you get a massage while you're there, that's a business expense. As long as it's related to your business, as long as it's something that's related to you going and doing your business. And that's a lot of things that people don't realize that they're missing out on. So if you keep track of those things throughout the year, and at the end of the year, you have a nice little neat spreadsheet that tells you all of those expenses in a lump sum, it'll make it easier. Also, if you have, you know, like Lorenzo said, if you have a separate account for those things. So those are all things that, you know, can be related. You're welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being you and, you know, participating and being here and being engaged. It really makes calls like this a lot easier when people can interact and all of that. Okay, how about crypto? If we've purchased crypto under their name, are the gains or losses taken under personal or LLC? If they have purchased crypto under their name, are the gains or losses going to be under their personal or LLC?
That's evolving. What I mean by that is they're coming out with a lot of crypto laws. And as of today, you'll be able to put them under, if it's under a business, you can link it to the business, but they're starting to really, because all these people making a lot of money off of crypto, the IRS wants a piece of it. So they're starting to really start to crack down on it. Like crypto has its own little tax thing now. My suggestion would be if you're if you're buying and holding crypto, is
don't cash it out unless you really need it.
And then if you're like buying, like if you're doing it just like as part of like a in and out of the market, you buying to get in and then you just get money out, that I would it would be a little bit different, but it's all case by case about how much you're making, how much your losses are and stuff like that. So I would have to know your individual situation before I can really like tell you what to do with it.
And also I do want to note, so just creating an LLC is not going to make everything run under your LLC. So if you create an LLC and you're getting a residual income, you need to contact B and let them know that your residual income needs to be reported under Atkins Financial Group. Not Atkins Financial Group, but you guys get the picture. So you need to let them know. There's a place in your profile that you can update that information, but I would just suggest contacting support. Mine's Atkins Financial Group LLC, Gigi's is Forex and Chill LLC. Same thing with your FTMO accounts. You want to contact their support and make sure that everything is reported to your LLC. Your Cash App, you can have a business Cash App, you can have a business Venmo, you can have a business PayPal. So if you're, you know, you can have business credit cards, all of those different things. So you want to make sure that everything possible is tied and reported to the LLC. So like, for example, if you invest in crypto and stocks on Cash App, and you don't want that to go against you personally, they are going to send you a 1099 at the end of the year of what your gains have been on the things that you've cashed out. It's not a taxable event until you actually cash it in, until you say, okay, I'm done holding this, I want the income from it. It's not a taxable event.
I'll add this really quick before we go. Also, one of the biggest perks that some people don't know about, if you establish a business account the right way and you get it loaded into the different credit bureaus, if your personal credit is not good or bad, or you have bankruptcy, whatever the case may be, if you establish your business and establish it the right way, you can just establish business credit as well. And you can buy property, cars, like lines of credit. You can get all that through your business, even if your personal credit is bad. And so that is something, like my brother has some student loans that he wasn't paying on and stuff like that, and his credit is bad. He's about to buy, a new car off of his business. So that could be a topic for another day, or if y'all want to reach out, I can walk you through what that looks like. But that's another perk of having a business, is you can literally separate yourself all the way, and you can finance things, you can buy things and all kinds of things with your business that doesn't affect you personally.
Okay.
Lorenzo, can we revisit something? I just have a question. A friend of mine passed her FTMO and she went to try to set up an business account, and she was denied because they told her they won't open anything dealing with foreign exchange. Have you guys experienced that or know anything about that?
Some banks will not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some banks, their with risk tolerance is very low.
Okay.
Okay, so some banks will not.
My advice is just don't tell them that you don't. I'm just telling them it's a business account. Or say you're doing, like you can do, say you're doing some sort of like just investing, like, or something along those lines. But when you say foreign exchange, it's certain words that trigger them.
Yeah, that's what I was telling her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because
certain words that trigger banks, and then
Right.
when you use those words, they will flag you. You can't say, it's a whole list. They call them prohibited business activities, and
Gotcha.
usually it's ones that deal with a lot of cash. So
Okay.
of course, Forex is going to deal with a lot of cash. Like they don't want the opportunity for money laundering is in a lot of cash-based businesses. So you got Forex, there's nothing but cash, but there's no when we worked at the bank, and I worked at some like Fifth Third and some bigger ones, like if somebody wanted to open up a gas station, it was really hard. If they want to open up like strip clubs and gambling and any of those things that have large amounts of cash, they
Also coming from banking experience, the banker probably has no idea what Forex or foreign exchange is. And they're probably thinking that the person is doing currency exchange, like
Yeah.
trading, like not actually trading. So
Right.
if they go to a different banker and just say that they're trading and investing,
Okay.
I would just leave it at that.
At that. Okay. Thanks, hon.
Yep. Most banks, in my experience, as long as you don't want to go in and lie to them, because if you FTMO, you're going to start having wire transfers come into your account. A wire transfer is automatically a red flag for a bank. It just is. That's the way that money laundering happens in a lot of cases. So wire transfers are a red flag. So you want to be honest that you're trading and investing, but you don't have to go as far as explaining that it's Forex or foreign exchange or cryptocurrency or anything like that. There's just key, like Lorenzo said, there's key trigger words. Like here in Ohio, marijuana is not legal. Any gas station who walks into a bank and says that they sell CBD oil, that bank instantaneously will deny to open a bank account for them. Yes, the US do not want us to be great. That's like perfectly explained. So it's just, you want to be honest, but you don't need to give them every single detail of what it is that you're doing. And I know that that sounds sketchy, but with 10
Yeah,
years
don't
of
give too
banking
much
experience,
information, basically.
with 10 years of banking experience, like I know what they're looking for.
Yeah,
And so
I understand. I'm a mortgage underwriter. I'm the same way. If you
Oh,
give me too
yeah,
much
yeah,
information, I'll start
exactly.
looking for some
Like
stuff.
someone
Yeah.
deposits $10,000 of cash in their account over 4 weeks, like they're gonna be coming after you asking where it's from. You know, even if they don't do it all at once. It's
Exactly.
just one of those things that they love to hold us back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna wrap up. Paulina's call starts in 4 minutes. Anyone who has any additional questions, I honestly, Vivian, I would go with whatever bank you have a relationship with. Honestly, it doesn't make sense to go around and search it. You want to make it as easy and as fluid as possible. So wherever you do your primary banking, that's where I would go first, unless they have a lot of fees. Yes, so you want to make sure things that you want to understand. If there's a minimum balance that you have to maintain on your account, what the fees are for incoming wire transfers, especially if you're doing FTMO or you're earning residual income. You need to know what those fees are. Your bank is going to charge you for a wire transfer. Most of the time it's like $15 per transfer. But you want to understand what those fees are. If you're allowed to have checks, if you can, how many transfers you can do a month. If you can transfer out of the account, you know, all of those different things. Those are things that you want to look at, but you definitely, I would stick with whatever bank you are familiar with, but also check and see what the fee structure is going to be there and compared to other banks. Here in Ohio, we have a lot of regional banks. So, well, I guess in the Toledo area, we have a lot of regional banks. In some of the bigger cities, you know, there's the Wells Fargo's, there's Chase, there's, you know, all of those things. So it really just depends on what is convenient for you, what is going to charge you the least amount of fees, and, you know, who you're going to have a good relationship with. Yeah. And I mean, you could always do it online if they, you can check everything out online before you go. So you don't necessarily have to call every bank, you know, just go to each bank's website and just see what their lowest business account. I know Chase, you know, they charge fees, they have a minimum balance, different things like that, but they're a big box bank. Some of you may not bank with them. Some of you may already bank with them. So it really just depends on what relationship you have. You know, here we use Huntington, Fifth Third, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, you just want to look to see what their fee schedule is, like if they have a minimum balance, like she said. And then sometimes some of them now are packaging in wire transfers and some of the fees. So it might be cheaper to pay some more money a monthly because you know you're going to get a wire transfer every single month. And if an international wire transfer is how much that costs and stuff like that. So you just want to do a little bit of legwork on what your monthly cost to have that business account is going to be.
Yes, Priscilla, that is also great. So depending on what type of income you plan on having come in, you want to make sure that the branch is also going to be able to handle. If you want to go in and withdraw $5,000 or more in cash at a time, you want to make sure that they're going to be able to accommodate you. Honestly, all income should run through your business account. In most cases, you should be able to electronically transfer from your business account over to your personal account or write yourself a check and deposit it. I know for us young folk, checks are obsolete, but checks are also very important, especially, you know, for different things like that. So yes, depending on what type of income you plan to have running in and out of that account, you also want to make sure that the bank is going to be able to handle that. I would not start off your questioning with the banker with that question though, because they're immediately going to think that you're laundering money. So just check it out, check out your banks online. And if you guys have questions or different things like that, you can contact us. Again, all the contact information is on here. You can take a screenshot of it. And it's also in the announcements that were put in the chats, the email address, and then the phone number that you guys can text as well. Okay, so I appreciate everybody. I'm gonna let you guys go so you guys can get on Paulina's call because I know she's probably waiting for everybody to join. So I don't want to hold her up. We will do this again probably in a few months, but I appreciate everybody for participating and hopefully this was helpful for you all. So have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.